Good evening. Thank you guys for being here tonight. This is the first moderated community conversation of the 4th annual Simply Healthy Creating Sustainable Communities, which is facilitated primarily by the Indiana Holistic Health Network in collaboration with FoodWorks for Middle Way House, the Center for Sustainable Living, and Good Life Alternatives. And we have many sponsors, so please look in the publication that you have here. This evening, we have 5 people in our conversation, which is moderated by Marty Crouch. She is a consultant on the relationships between biotechnology, agriculture, and the environment. She was trained in botany as an undergraduate at Oregon State University, received her MS and PhD in plant development biology from Yale University, and on the Faculty of Biology at Indiana University for 20 years before leaving academia in 2000. While at IU, Marty many botany, also at the interface of science and the liberal arts, the biofield, the biology of food, the ecology of everyday life, and life through the eyes of a potato, the changing face of agriculture. She now examines the relationships between people by consulting for various organizations. Marty is also the wild mushroom inspector at the Bloomington Farmers Market and has a special interest in the role of wild foods and medicine in modern diets. Welcome, Marty.
Thank you.
Also on our panel, we have Dave Parsons. He has been a member of the May Creek Farm Intentional Community southwest of Bloomington since 1987 and a friend of the community since its founding in 1976. He worked as a mason and built various passive solar and efficient wood-burning structures prior to being employed at Bloomington Hospital in the mental health and computer education fields. He has always sought an inclusive spiritual path with a special focus on Sufism through the Sufi Order International, the teachings of Sufi Ahmed Murad Christie, aka Samuel Lewis, as well as through nature, the universal scripture. Recently, he started a business, Real Compost, and I have to say, the compost is quite fine. A business dedicated to making quality compost to enrich the soil and put carbons where they belong, in the ground. Since 2006, he has become active in the Unitarian Universalist Church, Hoosiers for a Common Sense Health Plan, and Transition Bloomington. You may contact Dave at 812-824-6875. At bluemarble.net, or see more him on Real Compost at www.indianaholistichealth.net/realcompost.htm. Also, on our panel, we have Marcia Veldman. Marcia is coordinator of the Farmers Market, a member of the Green Sanctuary Task Force of the Unitarian Universalist Church, Green Drinks Bloomington, and a gardener. Marcia Veldman manages the Bloomington Community Farmers Market for the City of Bloomington's Parks and Recreation Department. She owns and operates Meadowlark Farm, a small sustainable farm in the hills of Brown County. She is a co-chair of the Green Sanctuary Task Force on Global Climate Change at the Unitarian Universalist Church and is also a co-founder of Green Drinks Bloomington. Marcia is a longtime environmentalist, having worked for many years as a naturalist and environmental educator. Welcome, Marcia. We're going to open up the conversation, yet I want to say there will be 2 others joining us shortly, and they will be introduced upon their arrival. Thank you and welcome.
Well, when I first looked at this agenda, I saw it said community conversation. And I thought, well, that's going to be members of the community having a conversation. But then I looked at it again, and it said community conversation. And I thought, oh, we're going to be talking, this is going to be a conversation about community. Well, of course, it's both. since most of the people here live here in Bloomington and are members in and out of various communities. So I really wanted it, or in talking with Patricia, really wanted it to be a conversation and not just the people on the panel giving views on things. And so I wanted to start, we have about an hour, which isn't a lot of time. And so I wanted to start out by getting a few ideas of some of the community, the issues about community that are weighing on your mind or that you're curious about, because we have a lot of collected wisdom and experience up here and in the group about trying to be in communities, having intentions not fulfilled, having intentions fulfilled, and so forth. So if I could just get, I'm gonna write down here, and I have a few ideas myself if nobody has any ideas, but I'm confident that people will. If I could just get a few ideas, and then we'll pick one to start on. We'll have the panelists say a few words and then get the conversation going. My main job is gonna be to cut the conversation short at some point so we can go to another topic. What are you here for? What are you hoping to get?
I'm hoping to just get the dialogue started out in the open about, what kinds of communities we want to see ourselves living in, what kinds of communities we want to be a part of, to say that are going to reflect, say, 50 generations into the future. But beginning right now, how do we want to be, and how can we take what we have and move it out so that the young people who come after us will feel like we've given them some kind of ground.
Okay, so how to move from here to there, basically. Okay, somebody else.
How to have all voices heard and still move forward with decisions.
All right.
Perhaps add to it, how to develop the skills in consensus building that, in such a way that decisions are reached, that there still can be a consensus.
Okay, so how to move forward and still hear everybody. And I know that a lot of people in here have had experience with consensus decision-making and other attempts at that, and have actually had groups dissolve over not being able to move forward. So I know that's a serious issue. Okay, somebody else.
I'm interested in intentional communities. I went to the lecture Friday night about eco-villages and stuff. I think just talking more about that from an intergenerational standpoint, co-op housing, there's a lot of different kinds. And so I think start talking about that.
And in particular, how to find one, how to start one?
All of it.
Okay.
Who would be interested? It's a huge endeavor. There's a lot of different ways to go about it.
Okay.
Well, another point that was brought up at that talk was with the eco-villages also how to employ yourself, how to maintain or create an economic sustainability within the community so that you don't have to work so much on the outside.
Let us take a pause here for a moment,
Okay.
and we're going to welcome our two other panelists. Sorry, we're late. Thank you. We've been joined by two other panelists. Lucille Bertuccio is an avid native gardener and the president of the Bloomington Center for Sustainable Living. She teaches at Indiana University and for Bloomington Parks and Recreation's People University. She considers herself a native Bloomingtonian. Also, Diana Leaf Christian. She is here visiting our community as our keynote this year. She is the author of Creating a Life Together, Practical Tools to Grow Eco-Villages and Intentional Communities, and Finding Community. How to join an eco-village or intentional community, And she previously was an editor of Communities Magazine for 14 years. She publishes Eco Villages, a free online publication at www.ecovillagenews.org. Diana leads workshops, offers consultations on process and communication issues, and speaks at conferences internationally. She lives at Earth Haven Eco Village in North Carolina. Welcome.
Thanks, Patricia.
Thank you.
What we're doing is, we're hoping that this will actually be a conversation and not just four people giving 20-minute talks. And so we're finding out from people what it is that they're interested in and what they would like to discuss, just briefly, since we have about an hour, which isn't a lot of time. Then we'll just get brief ideas from you and then open up the discussion, and hopefully we'll have time to go through maybe 3 topics or something. And my main job is going to be to try and stop the conversation at some point and move it in, direction. So that's what we're doing. So far, we have ideas about starting a dialogue about how to move from here to there. So what are our visions of where we want to be 7 generations, 100 generations from now, and how do we start setting up those structures? So sort of a philosophical idea. Then a very practical idea, how do you get all the voices heard and still move forward with decision making, which is coming from people's experiences. We have a lot of experience out here with people who have been involved in various communities and consensus processes and so forth, and run into problems with that. Then another general intentional communities, a lot of people are now hearing about them. How do you go about finding out which ones are being formed, forming one yourself? How do you get the information and so forth? And then if you're involved in a community, how can you maintain economic sustainability within your communities without having to have a lot of outside work? And those are the things that have come up so far. I'm going to take a couple more and then we'll move ahead with one of them. So that's where we are. And somebody else.
Well, I would like to hear some thoughts about conflict resolution, which kind of flows from the decision-making process conversation, I think. And that's
Okay, Bill.
Mark, I'd like to hear what communities, how they would respond to health issues within their group. And the community I'm living in, we have a health team, and we've identified, vehicles for ambulances and things like that. But the question is, what can we do more, including health counseling, and essentially it's emotional support.
That's timely with all the healthcare debate right now. Anything else? We've got lots of ideas here to get started with. But does that pretty much?
I want to take on one other thing.
Okay.
Our community is in a place where, we are transitioning as we're all getting older. We're all about the same age. Our kids are grown and are ready to move there. And, how we sustain, a big question that comes up for us is how we will sustain our community and transition to bring in younger folks and, make that transfer of decision-making and ownership of the land.
Yeah, okay, maybe if this is okay with everybody, this might be a good way to start, because I'm hearing so many different levels from philosophical to nitty-gritty. But the idea, starting kind of with Patricia, that a lot of people here have, and in our expertise in our panel, have had visions of a future of sustainability of some sort. Social, economic, emotional, and so forth, and have tried to put that into practice in various community experiments, so, I guess you'd call them, or experiences. But how do you make that something that has a cycle, a life cycle that you can integrate in the next generations, either your own offspring or younger people, and so that you aren't the shakers that, you know, end up with the 87-year-old who dies and then there's no one else. I guess that might be a good place to start. And so why don't we start with David? We'll spend, 5 minutes on each panelist and then open it up.
I see two different ways that the people I know could get involved. One is what I'm seeing with my oldest child, who's 33 now and has a 4-year-old and is married and is expecting another child, is that they're reaching a point where maybe more family support would be a good thing. And so to a certain extent, I see that there's a natural cycle where at some point a young family appreciates the support from their parents. And that might be a time when you actually could begin to talk about, well, do you want to get involved in this and live close, and then we could do some of the child care for you. So that's one aspect that I see. There's a certain amount of life cycle that has to happen. When the kids were 20, they had no interest